Welcome to Lost Without Japan, a travel podcast about the life-changing experiences of exploring Japan and those moments we would be lost without. For your listening pleasure, allow me to introduce your very own Kanko Guido, Michael.
Welcome to a special Lost Without Moments bonus interview episode of the Lost Without Japan podcast. Our bi weekly podcast is focused on getting you to Japan for your first visit or on making your next adventure to Japan even better than your last. Today's special interview episode is with Mari. This is your director of travel for TKIC Studio Productions, coming to you with positive thoughts and excitement for your next journey to Japan and his own return once more for his daughter's first visit in summer 2020. We're gonna hope 7 now, 8. I don't know. Things keep on happening, but I bought a lotto ticket, Marty, and I'm going to hope that it comes through. But I want to thank you all for giving me a bit of your time today. And I truly hope this podcast finds you in a good place. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. And if you're returning Lost Without listener, thank you again for your time and returning once more. Marty, who has resided in Japan since 2019, began as an exchange student before settling in Osaka to teach. Their account, which started in 2023, caught my attention partly just because of my goal of making Japan my permanent home and hoping to persuade my son and daughter to do the same selfishly, but also because their account also does a nice job of balancing content, covering both what I would consider to be like the cool Japan and also less Japan focused content regarding travel while also being, followed and, checking out different things. I saw that you are friends with friend of the show, Steffi, who I've had on, a few different times. And so I was like, you have to be a fabulous, wonderful, fantastic person. You could even add on to all of that Instagramming, a travel guide for Japan as well, because I saw like your Klook deals and, different things that you kind of have, like your map locations for Japan. So many different things we'll get into. Sorry for the long, rambling opening, but I truly feel fortunate to have you join us today. And I, look forward to hearing what it's like to be in Japan, be truly immersed in it, and discuss all that you have to offer. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Oh, it's going to be so fun talking about Japan. I can't wait.
Look forward to it. And before we get going on today's episode, where can listeners go to ask you questions about being in Japan, your services, or just to answer any additional questions they may have after listening to us?
All right. So, the best way to contact me to make sure that I'm actually getting all of the requests is through my business email, which is written on my Instagram account, of course. It's Mari's Adventures in Japan at gmail.com. That's the best way. Otherwise, you could also contact me on Instagram through DM. It's just that sometimes those requests don't pop up or I just don't receive them. So sometimes maybe people are texting me, but I simply cannot get their text messages. And then, of course, you can also book your tours or your itineraries, personalized itineraries, or just like text me through the website Rexby, where um, you can purchase my map with all of the places I've been to, all of my recommendations. Or now I even have another app that works quite similar, which is Now You Know. I have both because they are a little bit different and they work in a different way. So, and maybe it also depends where you're based, where you're living. So maybe one is better than the other. I feel like Rexby is more for people coming from Europe, while Now You Know maybe those towards United States or Canada. So it really depends what works best for you. But yes, these are the main ways you can contact me and inquire about anything you need.
Excellent. I truly appreciate it. And, just consider myself lucky to have stumbled across your account and everything that you have going on. One of the things that I love, just starting off with first, is just kind of like your Japan passions. If you have them, maybe since moving to Japan, Like, and calling it home, you might have those. But one of the things that I thought about first was just how did you end up preparing for that move back in 2019?
So actually, it was all because of COVID. So when I left for Japan in September 2019, I was an exchange student and I was supposed to stay there for just one semester. But then, well, of course, they told me I had the possibility to maybe stay for a semester more. So I started all the documents, all the process to stay for 1 year instead of just 6 months. And then COVID happened. And at the time, Italy was one of the first countries, if not the first country, to experience a very bad pandemic situation. So even my parents, they were like, you know what? Stay there, keep studying, graduate, and find a job. And that's exactly what I did. So at the beginning, I didn't know I was going to stay for this long. I was just like waiting to see how even all the coronavirus situation was going to be like. So, but then, year after year, I just get used to this kind of life, to my job, to my friends, and everything, to my own apartment. And then I got a cat. So eventually, I just stayed. I never went back home.
You're winning in life if you have the cat. May I ask your cat's name?
Oh, yes, my cat's name is Chunta. So actually, my coworkers found him in Kyoto, where they live, but they couldn't keep him. And I love cats. I've always grown up with cats in Italy with my family. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna get it. I can get it. I can get it. And she gave him the name Chunta. Basically, when he was very, very small, he looked like this brown bird. So, and this brown bird in Japanese makes this sound that is very similar to chung. So, chung. And then ta is the kanji, the ideogram for that you sometimes use for male names. Like, for example, sota, yuta, yota. So, chung, ta. That's how they explained it to me. I don't know if I explained it well, but that's the meaning.
You did you did perfect, you're perfect. That's and what a way to, like you said, head to Japan and then not necessarily planning on living there long term, but, rolling with the punches, I guess, like, making the best of the time you can. And now
Yeah.
at that time when you're there, how was it being a student in Japan then? I mean, going through the corona too, like you had probably maybe possibly a different experience than you would have otherwise?
Yeah, so the first semester, of course, was completely fine. You're just going to class with your classmates and your friends. And then I actually went there for finishing my master's degree. So maybe compared to other students that were just doing their, I don't know, their undergraduate, how do you say, graduate program? So mine was
Yes.
actually quite difficult. I was studying all the time. I didn't really have much time thinking, oh, to go out or to travel much. But I love Japanese language. I love Japanese culture. So for me, it was just a dream come true. So yeah, I liked studying. So that wasn't a problem at all. So yeah, the first semesters was quite normal, just going to class, having fun and everything. The second semester, of course, because of COVID, everything went to be online, which I'm sure it happened to, many other countries as well. And that was maybe, I don't know, in a way easier. So I wasn't studying as much, but it was also, I guess a lot of people can agree with me, a bit strange and maybe lonely because you couldn't really go out, you couldn't really talk to people. For example, if you're in class, after class, you can talk to your friends, you can talk to your classmates, but online, after the video call ended, well, that's pretty much it. You're again alone in your room. And in Japan, COVID was very different. I feel like at least from what I know, the situation was in Italy. In Italy, in order to go to the supermarket or in order to do some things, normal things, they needed like permits or certificates and everything. You weren't really allowed to do much. You couldn't really exit your village or town. In Japan, it wasn't like that. They were asking people to cooperate because people usually follow the rules. So if the government tells me avoid going out, I'm not going to go out. So I remember going to maybe here in Osaka in Umeda, which is one of the main centers with a lot of shopping malls and everything. There was no soul. It was empty. It was also scary. So for me, the COVID times were very strange, but then at the same time, I still traveled a lot because there weren't any tourists and Japanese people were following not really rules, but they were cooperating. So even going to the main spots in Kyoto now that are super overcrowded, well, there was nobody. So it was, COVID, I'm not saying that it was a good thing or anything. It was definitely different. And then, of course, I finished my studies. Started writing my thesis while I started a new job, and I graduated, and that's it.
So amazing, and I completely get, what you're saying in regards to, I don't know, like you sound like it's similar in the ways of like trying to make the best of the situation you can. And yes, when you're locked in and can't do anything as far as social interactions go, make the best of like what you can. And like there are, a wide variety of things that came out of that. And there were some positives for me as well. And one of those is kind of just kicking back the amount of time that I'm working, which is
That's
nice.
great.
And if it hadn't been for that, I wouldn't have done it as soon. So, I'm kind of glad. But I know now, like after you finished your time as a, like a student, universities, things like that, you've been teaching. And then I also saw again, like now it's like we were talking beforehand too. And now it's like, was it before? Was it now? But you've also, I've seen like on Klook and other things through like your apps and things, like being a tour guide as well. Could you go ahead and share with us a little bit about your time teaching and just, guiding as well?
All right. Yes. So, well, in Japan, we can say that the easiest job to find as a foreigner is English teaching. So I was lucky with that one too, because, with COVID, Japan closed down for a couple of years. Nobody could enter. So they were always looking for English teachers. It's just that in a normal time, they would hire maybe native teachers. I'm not native, I'm Italian. But because of COVID, well, they couldn't import, we can say, native people. So they went with me and they were like, all right, well, you're not native, but your English is good enough. So here you go. So I got the job and I managed to stay in Japan. I managed to travel a lot in Japan because of COVID, or we could say thanks to COVID. So to me, it's a little bit strange
Yes,
to
yes.
say, but yeah, COVID helped a lot. If it wasn't for COVID, well, after my semester, I'm just going to go back home because at the time, I couldn't really change my student visa into working visa. I had to get out from Japan and maybe come back. So everything worked out for me. And it was only years later, so I think towards the end of 2023, I started my Instagram page as well, which really changed my life because if it wasn't for Instagram, I wouldn't be talking to you at the moment. And I wouldn't be doing maybe Klook, I wouldn't be doing my own maps, I wouldn't be doing tour guide. So social media too had a huge impact. And the reason why I started it is quite funny. I used to not have any kind of social media. I didn't really put myself online. But then in December 2020, so between 2022 and 2023, I managed to go back to Italy for the first time after 3 years to, meet my friends and family. And my friends were like, well, but, you travel so much around Japan. You love Japan. You've been talking about it since you were very young and we can't stand you anymore. You're always about Japan this and Japan that. So they were like, why don't you? No, yeah, for real, for real. I was always so excited about it. And they were just like, well, just why don't you start like a profile where you share your adventures, where you share your travels? Because you do travel quite a lot. Every time you have a chance to go somewhere, you just go. And I was like, well, that's not a bad idea. Why not? So I started it, but very, just for fun. And then when I got to a certain base of followers, 500, I was like, well, that to me is a lot of people that want to see my things. So I think it was in September 2023 that I started to travel even more and share videos almost every day. And then it got me to. So, yeah, it started for fun and it was just my Italian friends telling me, yeah, why don't you do it? So, if I didn't go back home in Italy at that time and I wasn't talking to my friends, maybe it would have never happened because I was kind of against social media. It can be a scary place at times, and I was very, afraid of that. But then eventually it can still be a dangerous place. Of course, you gotta be careful. But at the same time, it just gave me so many positive things that I'm glad I listened to my friends. So a shout out to Simone and Stefano. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here.
No, that's one thing I kind of laugh at because I'm the same type in that regard where I've had someone that I was working with, and they're basically like, "Hey, I don't want to hear about Japan anymore," and I'm like, "I'm
Right.
sorry," and that's kind of like one of the things too of like starting my podcast gave me like an outlet for all of that. And when you like being like teaching and things like that, I know you're not making the most. Is that something that led you to looking to, like, tour guide, at times too, through, like, Klook and your services? Or is that just something that you've always enjoyed, like, showing people around?
Well, I've always loved sharing and showing people around. But that came because through Instagram, a couple of followers, they just texted me and they were like, oh, and we like your videos. We like the places that you're showing us. Do you also offer tours? Do you also tour people around? And I was like, well, I've done it with friends. I've done it with family. And of
Yes.
course, I enjoyed it. And I was like, well, if that's okay with you, then of course, I can show you around. I mean, just let me know what you're into, what you would like to see, or you'd rather not see, and I can make some sort of itinerary for you and I'll just show you around. And I started like that, like just, with people that contacted me from all over the world. So from the United States, from Canada, from Italy, from France, even around Asia. So then I decided to do it as much as I could. Maybe, of course, by working as an English teacher from Monday to Friday, I don't really have much free time. So it would be only on Saturday and Sunday. And the thing that I don't know, surprised me the most is that a lot of people, they maybe come here only for 10 days or 2 weeks. And they were like, all right, all right, all right. So we're going to organize ourselves so we can have a guide with you on Saturday or Sunday. So it's like, oh, but I feel so sorry. Like you come here for such a short amount of time, and I don't know, you really want me to show you around? So it was very, I don't know. I feel like people, they don't maybe know me directly, but they like the places that I show and they're interested and they want to know more. So it started like that, and I decided to dedicate a couple of my maybe Saturdays or Sunday to, to tour around people if, they contact me. But that's not really my main job. And, even with Instagram, I do get a lot of requests, even from businesses. So on Saturday, Sunday, that's the only time where I can do maybe some PR, maybe some tour guides, some tours, making itineraries, and travel for my own because I do love Japan and traveling around. So that's how my life is at the moment. So I'm so sorry if sometimes maybe people they ask me, "Oh, let's meet," but I really have no time.
Sounds like it. I like you wonder when you sleep, like, maybe the train cars with the sleeping. I don't know. I
I
love it,
try
but I
to
do
sleep in the
feel
morning before going
what
to
it
work.
you nudge the person next to you, like, "Please wake me up." That's uh, uh, one of the things I feel, you're qualified to speak to and, like, about are kinda like the, benefits and struggles that come with living in Japan, and what are some of those experiences that you could share with listeners of the show?
So at the moment, my main problems are maybe connected to my visa. So of course, to live in Japan, you need a visa. And I'm not married to a Japanese citizen, so I'm not gonna get the spouse visa. So I need a working visa. And that could come with a lot of limitations, of course. So even the job that I need to do, which I'm sponsored for, well, first of all, finding a company that sponsors me is quite difficult. I'm not really sure how it works for the company itself. But from what I've understood, they don't really have to pay anything. It's just that, they have to gather a lot of documents and then you are kind of their responsibility. So if you do something bad, well, they go under too. So I understand that maybe for a company's point of view, sponsoring is not really um, the best thing to do. So that was something that I struggled for some time. And then, even if you get sponsored, well, excuse me, there are a lot of rules that you need to follow. For example, for my job, I know that I'm a teacher. So maybe compared to other office jobs, I get 10 days in August and around 10 days during Christmas holidays too. But I don't have sick days. I only have vacation days. And because I've been working for this company for 4 years, I got to have 16 days. But then, those are supposed to be my vacation days, but I use them mainly for when I get sick. Also, I work with kids, so they're sick all the time. So I get sick all the time, at least
Yes.
once every 2 months. So that's what I struggle the most with because I love traveling and then, with social media too, I would need more time to dedicate to, explore places or, I don't know, do a new activity. But I can't. I can't do it. And you could say, oh, well, just take the day off, even if you don't have them anymore, you simply don't get paid. All right. Yes. I mean, maybe I could do that. But then it's not good. Like the company will look at you as you're not being professional. You're not someone that we can trust. So, it's not that simple. In Japan, there are a lot of these little rules, like never be late. If you're late, it's okay, but it's a minus. So it's these little things that I do love rules and I love organizations. I love respecting everything. But, as someone that wants to do more, it's too many limitations. So I get frustrated at times where I would love to go somewhere, but I can't.
I
So
get that.
I do like my
I
job
can
and I do
understand
like
that
working with
100%,
kids.
No, and so
So that's my only
I
problem
laughed
anymore.
I laughed though when you were saying it about, getting sick, not you getting sick, but, working with kids and getting sick because that is 9 months of my life, and with teaching art, I see like 650 kids every week. I see everyone throughout that time. So, yes, that is an ongoing battle to say the least. And then not having that time to get through and keep sane and do the things that you love outside of that, I could definitely see like being a bit of a struggle for sure.
Yeah, even now at the moment I'm in Italy, and of course, the week before leaving for Italy, I got sick because there was flu. The flu was spreading around, so everybody was sick. So of course I got it. And thankfully I didn't get a fever because, still in Japan, if you get a fever, then you got to do some checkups, whether it's the flu or COVID. And then if it's one of them, then you have to stay at home 3 days. And even if you're not feeling too bad, you still have to take 3 days off. But as I told you earlier, like in 1 year, I only have 16 days. So if for one time I get 3 days off, well, I'm already at 13. So actually now I only have one day left until March because that's when the year ends, like for schools or for jobs, that's when contracts, end. So I hope I'm not gonna get sick anymore. I need to resist 3 months.
Lots of vitamin C or, whatever you could get out there then.
Yeah, of course. And then of course I'm gonna wear a mask. I'm gonna be I mean, as careful as I can. It's inevitable sometimes.
It is, no doubt about that, and getting to your Instagram account, I do enjoy the fact that it covers the amount of time that it does, and one of the things, just for me personally, is even before our talk and finding out the things that we've talked about to this point, I could see that you are someone that has committed to kinda living the best life you possibly can and getting the most out of opportunities presented to you, and that's been reinforced just by hearing like all the different things that you've been to, through all that time. But like reflecting on your time, doing this, are there any moments that stand out to you more than others, that you like hold closer to your heart?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is more than the places that I've visited. maybe the people that I've met. Because at times it's just nice to talk to people from other countries, from other cultures, but also like in terms of activities or craftsmanships or history. I love talking to them and hearing their stories. Of course, I've studied Japanese and I can have a conversation, of course, but sometimes maybe, it can be a little bit too difficult. And I just appreciate how kind they all are. Like they understand that for me, it's not as easy as a Japanese person. So they always try their best to share their knowledge, their experience, their stories, in order for me to fully understand, because I am generally interested in those. It's like, I don't know, talking even me with, I don't have grandparents anymore, but I loved hearing stories about their childhood or their teenage years, how life was doing this. The most important thing to me, or what I really enjoy the most out of my travels, is the stories that I get to hear. So that's something that I'm really grateful for, because sometimes it's thanks to Instagram that I get to know new places and then new people. If it wasn't for social media, I wouldn't be able to. And of course, sometimes, especially maybe during promotions, I am always followed by someone and I get to meet certain people because it's a promotion. If I went there by myself, I wouldn't be able to speak to these people. So I'm really, really grateful that I can experience these things, but also share them with other people. Maybe people that are in Japan and they can maybe go and experience it for themselves, or maybe people that would love to come, but they cannot. So I'm really grateful for the tools that I now have, so I can show people, the things that I love, and then maybe they're gonna love too. Maybe something they're interested in too. So I feel like the stories is the thing that I enjoy the most out of my travels.
Love it. For me, I'm sure it's the same in ways to you too. It's from doing the show, it's the connections that I get to make with people virtually and then, in person at times as well. And kind of laying a nice, I guess like framework or like guide work or whatever you want to call it. Like for when I'm finally there, I'll know people throughout Japan. And, when I visited last with my son, when it was his first visit, it was so much fun kind of traveling throughout Japan and then meeting with people that I'd interviewed, from halfway around the world, and like just having that connection that I wouldn't have had the opportunity otherwise, if I hadn't, put in the effort to do this. So I'm glad you're having, similar type things, stories, experiences, and things like that. And one of the things that jumped out to me as far as like an experience that you had was like the hand weaving experience that you had. I think it was like back in March. And I've done Lone Glass. Whenever I can have an experience like that, and potentially take something away from that, I'm all I'm down for that. A million times over. Both going. It's like whenever I could take away something from an experience like that, I look forward to doing so. Could you talk a little bit about that experience or any others you'd like to?
Even that experience was, so with Klook, I have the possibility to look at the activities we have and choose what I'd like to do. And I saw that activity and I was like, wait a moment. So Kyoto, of course, you know, it's a very popular destination, but at the same time people go, I feel like, always in the same spots. And this little area of Kyoto is famous for textiles and everything. So I was like, well, first of all, it's just nice strolling around. Kyoto is known for its old buildings, old style buildings, so it's very beautiful. And then it has so much history that maybe people don't really think about when they think about Kyoto. So I really wanted to try that experience also because I have this memory of when I was a kid that I did something similar, like making maybe my own, I want to say maybe my own shirt or something like that, or my own scarf in the way that maybe my grandmother or great grandmother used to do it. So I like traditions. I like craftsmanships. I want to experience these things too. That's, you know, not so many people get to do it because, times have changed, things are not done the same as they used to be. So it's just interesting to see wait a minute, what about 60, 17 years ago? And you can see, all of the old tools that they used to use, and it's very extremely interesting. And at the same time, where I decided to do this experience is maybe a lesser known place, not so touristy, but they do want more tourists. They do want more people to go and learn. So it's also very cheap experience. It's not expensive at all. So that's also what I want to do with the power that I now have. I mean, I'm not like change the world, but at least for the people that want to follow me or are interested in what I do,
Uh-huh.
I want to show them all of these experiences, like the real Japan, and yeah, all of these experiences. So I thought that that was very interesting, and I decided to do that experience. And then I think a lot of people really liked it. And also, these kind of places where they would love more tourists, it's just that they don't maybe get too much attention. So if I can help a little bit with that, at least maybe out of, I don't know, 100 people that watch my video, maybe five are going to be more interested and they're going to like it and then they're going to talk to other people about it. So, in a way, I do want to help maybe local businesses or, yeah, this kind of, I wouldn't call them attractions, but yeah, experiences.
But that's it's that part of my goal is to get more people to go to Hiroshima because that's definitely not the first visit. Like you said, a lot of people go to Tokyo, Kyoto, maybe Osaka. So it's always that and going to other places. Because, like you said, so many places would love to have tourists visit and getting away from the places that maybe would like a break from some of, as many tourists that are coming through, could make for some interesting memories and great experiences for you too. And I have to say, one of the things from my own times within Japan, and I'm sure for you too, I love finding just amazing food. And I love the fact that some of the food is, not what you would typically find within Japan, and some very much is. What are some of your favorite foods or locations, if you don't mind sharing, that you have while living in Japan?
Well, I think Japanese cuisine is my second favorite cuisine because first is going to be Italian food. I'm sorry, but that's where I come from. And, recently, even Italian cuisine became UNESCO World Heritage.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes, Italian cuisine. So, that's always going to be my favorite type of cuisine. But Japanese food too is very delicious. Of course, like I do love the main dishes that Japan is also famous for. So I'm going to say ramen, sushi, okonomiyaki, takoyaki. I love everything. Tempura as well. The only thing that maybe I don't really like too much is natto, the fermented beans. I
Yeah.
believe that you either like it or you hate it. To be honest with you, I don't like it.
Yeah, it's definitely a love or hate relationship, no doubt about it. And for me, some of my favorite meals are meals that you wouldn't expect there. Like my favorite Indian food like meal that I had was in Tokyo, and then I would have loved to been able to recommend to you a place that was in Kyoto that had
Mm,
Italian food. The gentleman that ran it spent some time in Italy, so I would have loved to be like, "Hey, how accurate was this?" But unfortunately, he closed, I think he was looking to close partly before the pandemic, and then once that happened, I think, he
yeah.
was just ready to call it time, but I mean, like seriously, some of my favorite meals are meals that aren't necessarily that like you can give me curry, I'll be at any curry stop that you could possibly go to, but it is. Some of those experiences I had were ones that I'd be like, What do you mean you were having tacos, like in Japan or a hot dog?" I'm like, "No, it was fabulous." All of it. So,
But my favorite Japanese food is actually maybe a little bit different from what people might think of when talking about Japan. I love oden. So it's like type of one pot dishes. They have different ingredients, like, for example, boiled eggs, daikon, processed fish balls, and all flavored with Japanese dashi broth. I love the daikon. I love Oden daikon. I swear, especially when it's winter time, because this is more of a winter dish. I think I eat Oden every day. I either go to the restaurant or I cook it myself. I love daikon. So I know it could sound a little bit strange, but I think that's my favorite Japanese food.
Love it. I love it. And I'm just wondering from living in Japan versus Italy or, like your times even before, but how has living in Japan changed your view of the world?
Well, now that I'm also back in Italy, I'm having a culture shock about everything, So I've been living in Japan for 6 years and I've come back only twice. This is my second time, and not for a long period of time. It's just for 10 days, for 2 weeks. So, one thing that I would say changed for me is maybe I like how in Japan you always try your best not to bother anyone else and to respect others. So, for example, of course, you can speak on the trains, but I like the fact that sometimes, even if the train is full of people, it is very quiet. Not
Yeah.
always. It depends, of course, which kind of train. Like, for example, if you're going to Namba, it's not going to be very quiet. But in the morning when I go to work, I work like in South Osaka. It's always very quiet. And people respect maybe lines, or they're not too loud, or it's like creating a very nice community where everybody wants to follow the rules to create a society where everybody can live in. And I really, really appreciate the safety. As a girl living by herself, going around, no matter the time of the day, I'm always going to be, nothing has ever happened to me. Of course, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen in Japan, that
Yes.
Japan is completely 100% safe. But compared to my reality in Italy, I'm not afraid to go out by myself and nothing happened to me. So I think that's what the change that happened to me. I'm always looking to help people, I'm always looking for the next person. And I'm also feel maybe too safe. So, for example, I've left my phone, I forgot my phone, toilets at the shopping malls or on the train or here and there. And I've always found it. Or I've lost even my IC cards for the train and I've always found it. And so I'm getting used to, being very, very careless. That's not a good thing. So coming back to Italy, it's definitely different. I gotta be a little bit more aware, of people. So that's something that has a little bit, shocked me. I forgot about it. I have to be careful. If in Italy I'm gonna forget my phone somewhere, well, I'm not gonna find it again. So you gotta be careful. So I want to say that that is the main thing. I think so. And then one more thing, can I say it? It has happened since I've been here in Italy. Everybody here is late, 5, 10 minutes, but for them it's not being late. It's like, oh, come on, we said 4, so even if it's 4:14, no, 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 no. You said 4, so you should be here at 3:50. So that's also
Uh,
something that's changed in me. Like in Japan, you gotta be on time, but on time means being early.
really.
That's what I'm used to. So that was also something that has changed. I'm sure that before, when I was living in Italy, I wouldn't be so attentive to the time. Like, even if you're 5, 10 minutes late, that's completely fine. But now I'm very like to the second. It's like, wait a moment, it's already 3:0001. Where are you? You know?
Yeah, the being on time is late. That's like, yeah, that's a totally different mindset.
Yeah.
No, I so very much appreciate you setting aside time to chat with me. And I know we're talking about trying to get back on to where we could do a video audio collab once you're back in Japan. I interrupted your Stranger Things watching. And you were
That's
kind enough
completely
not to
fine.
spoil you're kind enough not to spoil anything for me, so I appreciate that, but I do wanna be respectful of your time and kind of bring us in, and we'll save some of the questions I had for next time, that we're together. I've had a fabulous, wonderful, amazing time hanging out with you and consider myself lucky to do so. Before we head off, and do you have any travel goals, with your whole one day that you have left for 2026 for yourself?
Well, I do have one goal, but I would like to finish the year with 65. 1,000 followers because that was my goal for the whole year. But even if I don't, that's completely fine. It's just like something that I told to myself at the beginning of this year in January. I was like, all right, you know what? This year is going to be, the year that I put more effort into it and I want to change things. So eh, I don't want to say that it's just a number because, like, to me, even if just like 20 people are following me, I'm super happy. It's just like, you got to put some goals. Otherwise, you're not
Yes.
going to be ambitious. You're not going to put the effort. So that was my goal, and I'm almost there. Even if it doesn't happen by the end of the year, that's completely fine. But yeah, I guess that was the goal.
It is, and you do need to have something to keep yourself going, and I wish you luck with that. I'll be trying to send some positive, vibes that way for you for the couple of days we have left, but I am definitely impressed by it. Like, like I said, the quality of what you put into, and considering, the limited time you have with what you're doing and what you do, it makes it even that much more amazing. So, I again, thank you so much for hopping on, setting aside some time. And I want you to, enjoy the rest of the time in Italy and with your family. But before we part ways, could you just again one more time, in case somebody joined our talk or interview, sometimes people will skip that beginning part. Just go ahead and share where listeners could end up, following you for Instagram or just contact you in regards to like your apps and things like that, your services.
So everything is on the link in my bio on my Instagram page. But of course, you can send me a DM over there. Or I do also have TikTok. So in case, I get messages over there too. Or on my platform, Rexby. Or now if you're more interested in maybe my map, my places, my itineraries. So there are. And as I said before, the main way to reach out is through my business email, which is Mari's Adventures in Japan. In Japan.
Thank you again, Marty, for joining us today. I truly, truly consider myself lucky to have spent the time with you. And I'm looking forward to you and Steffi getting to hang out as well and hearing about it afterwards. So thank you again for joining us today.
And thank you so much for reaching out to me and for being interested in what I have to say. It was amazing. Thank you so much.
On behalf of all of the, couple of listeners that, listen to Lost Without Japan that will come over and I'm sure be the ones that bring you over that, goal of yours, the 65,000. But for all of us and the entire crew, I'd like to thank you all for joining Marty and myself for today's interview. We look forward to seeing you on board again for our next regularly scheduled episode as we continue our discussion on Japan, travel, culture, and your lost without moments.